So we're here with Neil Campbell from the artistic director of the UCB Theater Los Angeles branch.
That's right.
You guys recently celebrated your 5th anniversary.
Yep. Yeah, 5 years. We opened July of 2005, and then the official grand opening was September of 2005. So we just did the big official 5th anniversary show.
Now I know that in 2010, the UCB has a great reputation out here in Hollywood and show business. There's a ton of people who come out of this theater in TV shows and movies. What was the initial reception like when the theater showed up here?
Well, I was just excited for the show because it was kind of exactly what I was looking for. I had been doing shows just around in various venues, hotel basements and sushi bars with Paul Rust and the two of us and some other people we knew as well. We're just looking for like a place like this, like a theater. We had all read the book Naomi Odenkirk had written about Mr. Show, and we were read about that, and they talk about some club in it where like Bob Odenkirk would do a show, then Andy Dick would do a show, and we were like, oh, I wish there was still a place like that was just sort of like this hub for the comedy scene. And then and we were kind of looking around, we couldn't really find any place that was quite like that. And then when we heard the theater's opening and we started learning more about it, we became excited. So as someone in the scene, I was super excited for it, and I feel like that was the overall vibe at the time, at least amongst my peers, was it seemed like people were really stoked for it to open up.
How long did it take before this theater became a place where sellouts were common?
I mean, it sort of like goes show by show. I think it's sort of like, ASCAT's always been a popular show, and then you have like Facebook, which was formerly MySpace, was a popular show. Built up and I was pretty quick, and then just like kind of the other nights, the other shows and other nights, Comedy Death Ray was instantly a very popular show, and then it's just sort of like Herald Night starts to build up an audience after a while, and then then a certain teams, Cage Match starts to build an audience, and teams emerge out of Cage Match and Herald Night, and they become the Thursday Night at 11 show, and they become popular after a while. So it's just sort of like slowly built up slot by slot, I think. But it started with a few, definitely with ASCAT and Comedy Death Ray.
But I've read about how it's, I don't know if it's still the case now, but there became a point where even well-known movie stars started showing up and taking classes here.
Yeah, I mean, I think just people hear that it's fun, or sometimes I think it's that some movie stars maybe are in a movie with comedians from the theater, and they go, oh, it's really fun. Is UCB? And so then they go, oh, sure, I got time and money, and so they had to sign up and take a class, and so
end up with an improv beginner.
Yeah, and so you just have like someone you've seen in movies or TV like in your improv or sketch 101 class. I mean, that doesn't happen a ton, but it's certainly over the last 5 years has happened a few times. Yeah.
What would you say is different about the Hollywood theater now versus when you first got involved with it?
Well, I mean, certainly there's a lot. There are a lot more kind of shows that have now built up a following. That just at the beginning there was, Comedy Death Ray came over from the M-Bar, and there were a few shows that already had a reputation, but everything else was sort of starting from scratch. And now there are definitely teams and shows, both improv groups and sketch, that have built up a following. And I would say within the theater too, at first it was kind of like, they were just sort of, we hadn't had classes yet. They were just starting to teach classes, so there wasn't really a system for like going through the training program and then auditioning to be on a Herald team for improv, or submitting a writing packet, or auditioning to be a writer or performer on a mod team for sketch. So now we've definitely built a lot more of like an institution and a system for kind of going through the training program and then having an opportunity to attempt to audition to be considered to be in a show, whereas at first there hadn't been classes yet, so it just took a while to build up that body of students and that system.
And for people who are watching this and whether they live in Los Angeles or not, and they want to get involved with the theater, or they have a show already, and they know that you're the right now you're the guy. What can you tell them in terms of what you're looking for that makes specifically a UCB show a success?
Well, I mean, I think having a strong voice, which is the most generic thing I could possibly say, but a strong voice, just that's not just like trying to do what other people think is funny, but you have confidence, you know what you think is funny, and you're gonna try to present it and share it with the world, and that's generally what I respond to, and I think what audiences respond to as well. I mean, we have a thing called The Game that we teach in our improv and sketch, and we definitely, if a show is improv or sketch, it's like to for it to have a game-based approach to comedy, and that's not really, game isn't necessarily a specific sense of humor. It's not saying this is funny or this isn't funny. It's more of a way, it's a method for taking what you personally find funny and expressing it as clearly as possible. So it's just like in focusing and really staying focused on that funny thing. So, I like to see that. I like to see that approach taken to sketch or improv shows that go up here. But we welcome like all forms of comedy. I mean, we have musical acts like Garfunkel and Oates and Charlene Yeed, who's stand up and does music and weird, wonderful stuff, and Mark Maron, does a monthly show, and Ron and Bev, do character stuff and a talk show. We have talk shows and stand up and all sorts of stuff. But I think all those have in common under the greater umbrella is just a real strong voice.
And 5 years from now?
5 years from now, let's see. I mean, who knows? They just opened a second space in New York, and so that there's now 2 theaters in New York, or they're in the process of opening it, I should say. I don't think that's really been discussed here, but you never know. if I'm looking to New York as a model, and they're about 5 years ahead of us, so maybe expanding. But I think just the thing that we've always that I've always just tried to make sure we do is keep keep bringing up new talent and leaving room on the calendar for new talent, because we could probably pretty easily fill the calendar with comedy veterans and really experienced, like, hilarious performers who have great careers going, but we always try to save room, be it on the Herald teams, the Mod teams, or just these Spank slots, which are a way for people to try out new shows. We try to save room for the kind of people up and coming. So I think it's we're never going to just fill up and not have room for newcomers anymore. There's always going to be that system. So hopefully 5 years that keeps coming along as well.
Well, Neil, I appreciate your time. Congratulations on the first 5-year mark.
Thank you.
And best wishes for the next 5.
Yeah, thanks so much.